We're back. Isn't this great? I love having a guest. It's like you're like my co-host now.
Yay.
You know, that actually.
I love it.
That actually was on my list.
Yeah?
Yeah, you know, I have never co-created. This is really interesting. One of the things on my list, and since we're talking about lists, this is the holiday time. Now we're all in it. Fucking Lexus, December to Remember, and the Mercedes sales event, and the season of Audi, right? This is the season of romance. On my list of the person I want to meet is co-creating the rest of my life with them.
I love that.
You know, like
I used to call it power couple.
Power couple's hot.
I have wanted to be part of a power couple forever up until this last relationship that just ended. That's all I said was I wanted to be a power couple. And then I got this guy who was like, in it to win it. Yes, we're going to be a power couple. Like, yeah, we're a team. But I was just like, no, this is not, you know. So now I'm like afraid. I don't want to be afraid of using that term, but it's a power couple. That's what a king and queen are. A king and queen are a power couple.
God and a goddess, you know, that's what I call
absolutely. God and goddess, yeah.
It's funny, I never thought about this. You have been my muse, and I didn't even know you had the muse written inside your list. But I'm thinking, because you're the first guest since I've had my friends on. I've had my friend Eddie on, and we'll do 4 podcasts back to back, and it's fucking great, right? You know, and my friend John, back in New York, we'll do 7. We'll just sit around and do 7 or 8 podcasts.
How many have we done now?
I've done like 4 or 5, right? So I've never had a woman as a guest where it just was endless. You know, this is like an endless conversation that is really good because people can listen to it, and great because now you gave me my next thing on my list. My podcast is meant, I want to share my whole life. So I want to share my podcast because it would be amazing to co-create. There was a girl I dated 10 years ago. And it's so funny, I'm an idiot. I was ahead of the podcast trend. I was doing podcasts in 2007. YouTube addicted me at that time because it was all visual, and I was like egomaniac, was like, let me see myself on video, right? So I stopped doing podcasts. The girl I was dating, we would have sex, and after sex we would do a podcast.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It was amazing, and she'd be out of breath.
And people knew?
Oh no,
people didn't know.
We'd be laying in bed fucking fucked out in bliss, right? Incredible. I mean, we're talking like fucking like marathon session of just foreplay and everything, just mind fucking. We had that chemistry between us that was so great. And then afterwards I would take the mic and I'd sit there and we'd talk, and you hear how breathy she was, and there'd be like David Gray in the background, you know, or like U2, like the music that we were talking about.
I love it.
And we would be talking and just going, oh, it felt so good. So I really want to, I have a dream, I have a vision for this podcast, is I want to co-create it with somebody, and then we have this podcast on the road, meaning that our life becomes the podcast. Because I find most people's podcasts can be kind of boring. They're sitting in a studio and it's kind of dull, right?
Yeah.
I want to be able to go on these adventures, these trips and everything else, and bring random people in, maybe get really fucking high and go like talk to some hotel people and just kind of bring them in, or have fucking do the podcast after a great fucking lovemaking session and really describe what it feels like to connect on that soul level and share that, because I think that the world needs to know how to fuck one another better. But most people are fucking each other. I think they need to know how to make love, because the term fucking is such a weird thing, because I'm a lover.
Anyone can fuck.
Anybody can fuck.
All you have to do is insert something into another thing, and that's it.
Pretty much.
That's I mean, fucking at its most basis is just very primal. You know, you look at animals, and it's for really, at the end of the day, one purpose, to you know, procreate. But when you get down to it, what's all that mystical shit in there that is just like, that's what I get off on. I'm like, woo.
The juicy stuff, right?
The juicy stuff.
Yeah, that's the stuff I get off. I'm a feeler. I'm like, fucking don't, like we talked about, don't tell me like you want to fuck me. Tell me why.
Yeah. But then you get those people who are like, yeah, but then they don't know about the romance. And that's where, like I told you earlier, I said I'm such a chameleon. I'm very much like, yeah, I have my naughty list, and that shit is crazy. But I'm also like, I want to live in Camelot. Like, I just want to live in that romance, in that classic, you know, the Jane Austen that we were talking about before.
Yep.
When a woman enters the room, men stand up. Now, I know that's not in our, like, culture anymore, but, I mean, there's still that mentality. It goes beyond just holding the door. Anyone can hold a fucking door. That's great. That should just be standard, you know? You should hold the door for other people, like, no matter what. But guys think that, like, oh, I opened the door for her, I'm a gentleman. I'm like, no, you're not a fucking gentleman. No, you're not. Like, there is way more to being a gentleman than that.
Describe what you want to feel like, because we're going back on our list. This is the beautiful holiday time. I could go to the naughty parks. My brain, my mind is curious as shit what you find naughty, but just by the twinkle in your little eyes, I can just kind of figure it out on my own. And for the rest of you people listening, you don't need to fucking know, because you don't have the pleasure of talking to her in person. And they're all listening going, oh God, ask her, she's hot, man. Ask her what naughty is. No, that's what the Gemini...
Follow me on Instagram, you'll start to see.
Exactly. Well, that's what the Gemini and the Cancer mind can do, because the Cancer is a sensual sign. The Gemini is a creative, sensual sign. So that's why the Cancer Gemini can do that dance.
That greatest love of my life was a Cancer.
Of course, because it's...
Cancer, because it just works. There's just something about it for that brief moment in time. It just works. You don't have to explain. You don't have any, and for the Geminis that really are smart, they will make that Cancer feel safe enough to then in turn, make that Gemini feel safe. And then she opens. They say that a woman Gemini, especially in bed, it's like a one-woman harem. You're going to get every type. So you'll never be bored. I
was never bored with that Gemini. I had 2 Gemini lovers that I'm telling you were so amazing. One of them I never got bored. It was a fucking adventure. The other one was the most erotic. She would start coming within a minute of
wow.
The minute I went down on her, literally a minute later she started having an orgasm, and it did not stop until we were done. And I'm talking like, no matter what I did to her, it was an endless orgasm. And then when I was finally exhausted after a couple hours of like foreplay and then having sex, so I would be done and she would still be grinding the air and still want more. It was the hottest.
The female body
thing.
Is amazing.
I love the female body.
It's amazing. It's such a gift.
I love it.
That's gonna be I have this web series, a mini web series that I'm doing on YouTube for the book. And I was talking, we did an episode on sex with one of my girlfriends, and I said my next book's gonna be The Art of Sex, or what did I say? The Art of Being a Sexual Being or something. She was like, will you please do that book? I was like, yeah, that's the next one.
I gotta tell you, when I'm coming back, there's 2 things I've always said, right? Mm-hmm. One is, can I borrow your vagina for 24 hours? I would not leave it alone, okay? I gotta know what the fucking G-spot orgasm feels like, and I gotta know what those fucking endless multiple orgasms feel like. The multiples, because I have I can last for a long, long time and build it up, and I can have those man multiple orgasms, those waves, but it's nothing like that. So I would basically have that vagina for 24 hours. I would just learn everything about it inside out, because I've been always fascinated by it. But women's orgasms, they're fucking soulful.
And men are scared of them. I think so much.
Why do you think men are scared?
I don't know. It's just oppression on women. They sense this power, I think. And it all leads back to sex and, I don't know, wanting their mothers and whatever else. I mean, we're talking weird shit, like thousands and thousands of years. But then you go to just this whole oppression of women because, it's like, I don't know, I think that men definitely sense, and some who are definitely not as evolved, who've been oppressed themselves, they sense the power that women have. Like, we don't need you guys. I mean, we talked about that.
Yep.
And as awful as that's saying, there's things that you don't need us for, too. But it's like, but I think the way that it's put, like, well, we don't need you. Well, like, that's awful to, put that way. But other than bearing children, which now in this day and age, we don't even need you for that anymore.
No, you can go bank the eggs.
Exactly.
You can go get and pick out the good-looking sperm.
Exactly. So I don't know, but and that, I do talk about that in my book, where I don't aim to disempower men ever. That would be so cruel. That's what they've done to us. So why would you do that? I don't aim to disempower men. I want, equality. So men can be men, women can be women. God knows if that'll ever happen, but I'll tell you, I don't know.
All right, so how do we find him?
Well...
Because you're fucking awesome.
Thank you.
So
I put in my book...
How do we...
My dream man is Ben Barnes. So if anyone knows Ben Barnes, please send him my way.
Who's Ben Barnes?
He's an actor.
Okay.
He's a Leo. I'm pretty sure he probably, if he knows about me now, he probably thinks I'm a psycho. But I stood next to him once, and I almost passed out. The energy that I felt, our energy went like this, and I was like, whoa. He is so handsome. He's British. He's a great actor.
Old?
He's in his 30s now. I think he's 35. He's a Leo. He's tall. He goes to Wimbledon. All these things. I'm sharing too much about I know. But
Maybe we can name the podcast.
I
Ben
know,
Barnes, where are
like,
you?
hello. But then I always think, I'm like, oh my God, what if I, actually dated him and he turned out to be a fucking asshole? It's like, so I don't want to wish for a certain person, even though that's like, oh my God, he and I would make beautiful babies. He's he's British and handsome.
Which would fit the English countryside that you want to live in.
Exactly.
But you, being the deep feeler and the deep romantic, you got a romantic journey about him. So let's erase the Ben Barnes name, right? So you got a clean slate. Give me this clean slate, because you're dating in a world now where a man will look at you, and you need a guy, and this is what I'm going to tell you, right? So you need a guy that's got a fucking confidence like there's no tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay, because that will turn you on. Secondly, he already knows that beautiful women come to him. He chose you. Exactly. So all the women that he could have had, he chose you. You're the most beautiful woman he's ever seen in his entire fucking life.
I put that on my list,
right?
too.
That's important.
Yes.
That, to me, is the most important thing. When I am with somebody, they are the most beautiful woman in the world to me. And I remember I was dating somebody, and I told her that, and she goes, what do you mean, to you? She goes, aren't I the most beautiful woman in the world? No, you're the most beautiful woman to me. That's what's really important. It should be personalized. And you get that and you understand that, right? He's got to put you, both of you have to be put on this romantic journey. You're romantic. So the little things, and I'm crafting this like fucking great, beautiful man for you. The little things are so important to you. The cuddling, the spooning, the tall. Oh yeah, you need tall.
He has to be able to I always had this vision, and I'll tell you, this is very personal to everyone, but I'm going to put it out there because it's come back to me over and over, and I can never see his face. I have this vision. I have this marble floor manor. It's nothing too crazy. It's not some Beverly Hills mansion, but it's this beautiful manor in the countryside. And, we live there when I'm not filming or whatever, right? And I see him coming in, I can see these marble floors, and he comes in, he's wearing this V-neck, dark t-shirt, tall, he's got tattoos, because I love tattoos. Not too many, but, he's just nice and, built. Just a man. But he's carrying one kid, and he has the other kid on his hand, and he walks in through the door, but I can never see his face. And I know that, I'm pretty sure he has, darker-ish hair. He's not a bright blonde, but, I can never see the face. And so I never want to say, oh, I want blue eyes or I want this, because I don't know. I don't know what he's going to have, but I know that I'll love them because they're his. I know that I'll love as long as he has good hair. I've always dated guys with good hair. You know what I'm saying? But, I'll love it because it's him. So I don't want to put a box, just like you said, don't put a box in on the age. I'll know it, and so, yeah. But I can never see his face, and I've had this vision for, I don't know, bunch of years now.
I call it my Field of Flowers vision. It's the same vision, okay? So I did hypnotherapy years and years and years ago, and I was living in Boulder. And I was with this woman, and it was terrible. Everything about it. It was just the tail end of the relationship the last year. And guy hypnotized me, and I remember I was heading, he says, where are you right now? I said, basement door, and I fucking hate basements, hate them. The ghosts live down there, the boogeyman lives there. I can't stand basements. I got an active imagination. So he goes, open the door, and I remember opening the door, and I remember the dank, stinky smell, and I remember the old light, that those old lights from the 50s, they just haven't modernized, they're not silent. I put it on, and he goes, walk down. I go, it's fucking light, won't work. He goes, walk down. I remember there was a light at the end there, and another door, and I opened the door, and there was a field of flowers.
Wow.
And the woman had red hair, blonde hair, brunette. Her hair color changed. Was your color at one point?
I had red hair for 15 years.
Did you? Yeah.
I just changed back to my blonde.
Yeah, no, it's changed. The hair color changed. But she wore this sundress with no underwear, no panties, no thong, no bra, nothing. And I could see the nipples, literally, because the sundress was see-through and I could see it. And she kept taking her hand like this, but not letting me touch her. And I kept following her the whole time. And she, 5'5", I've always dated women, 5'2" to 5'8", so
right.
I mean 5'5" was right in the middle, right? And I remember it being 5'5" because he asked me the details, and I remember we were chasing each other, and I felt 100% seen and 100% free. Her hair color changed because it didn't matter, and the subliminals, the stuff that was really there was so good was, the guy said to me, he goes, you never cared about hair color at all. He says it's the freedom. So what that signified to me was feeling 100% free and seen. And the field of flowers, if you think about flowers blow in the wind.
Yeah.
And to me, sexually, sexually I need to be with somebody who's very free. Hair color changes to me is really fun with a woman because it shows her playful side, and it also, it's the way that I am because I always change also. I change my image of clothes. You know, I'm a vintage guy one minute to, you know, I was swore off of Levi's for 20 years, and then all of a sudden now I'm back and I've got the best vintage Levi's collection in the world again, right? Because I realized that all the Japanese denim and all the raw denim, fuck that. There's nothing better than a pair of fucking 60s or 50s or 70s Levi's that are beaten up and torn and patched your own way, right? So that was me. She was the female mirror of me. And it's funny, I have never been with my field of flowers person yet.
I get your vision. That's a wonderful way to put it, is you are looking for that version of you in the opposite gender of what you are looking for. And that's exactly, you know, pretty much to a T. That's, I think, what everyone wants, but that's what I'm definitely looking for, you know? If I say, okay, I'm building my empire, it's like, they get that. They're building their, or they already have it, or whatever it is, but they want to be that power couple. You know, they don't want to diminish, they don't want to, you know, they don't want to be above or below me. It's just, we're there and we have our roles to play. You know, and you figure that out as you get to know them. But finding that fucking person, wherever he is, you know, and you hear that clock ticking, and then it's like, well, I can't put a time on it because I'm crafting something so perfect that's going to come to me, but, you know. You
want those babies. Do you feel them?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
it's
I know
a big
what I
calling,
would name
right?
them. Yeah, and it's never been a thing where I'm like, I have to have kids, but I just know, like, that's part of my journey. You know, I'm gonna have a boy first and a girl, and there's just some things that, you know, especially as a woman, and you just know that is part of my journey, for better or for worse. And, you know, I don't know. I had this woman one time who I spoke to on the phone. She used to speak to angels and stuff like that.
I love that. What's her name?
Her name was Tracy O'Mara. Sweet little old Welsh woman. And she told me these things that, you know, I felt, but some things about the guys that I was like, you know, I don't know, details changed and stuff, but she said, oh, I see you with like one little boy, you know, just, and I always thought, well, I'm going to have 2 kids, you know, but you never know. You never know. And by the time this dude fucking shows up, I'm like, you just don't know. You know, I could meet him tomorrow, or I could meet him in 60 years, I don't know.
What if you didn't have kids? Have you ever thought?
Yes, I have lived through that fear and let it, you know, I always say, feel that fear, let it pass through you, you know, then only I will remain. I mean, if that's what's meant to be, then that's what it is.
Okay, so that's an interesting thing, right, in this journey and in this story. And I'll share a great story with you that somebody told me years ago. I met this couple, and they were really cute. And he looked like a little boy, but he was about 15 years older than her, right? You know, she was a couple years older than you when they met. I think she was 32 or 33. He was 50 at the time, right? He had 2 boys. Very interesting. He had boys, right?
Yeah.
And they met, and they never met anybody like either one of them in their entire lives. And I've told the story at a lot of seminars and everything else, so if you've heard the story before, don't fast forward, because there's always a different reason to hear it. I met them, and it was the greatest advice I ever got in my entire life, because I never thought I was going to have children, and I have a daughter, right? So our journey in life is exactly what God and the universe and spirit is giving you, right? So we have these stories that we need to fulfill. So they met, and they literally fucking connected like that. It was an instant, spontaneous thing. For 3 months, they were inseparable. He looked at her, and he knew everything about her, because that's what you do.
Right.
When you're meeting somebody, you get to know them, and you talk, and you talk, and you talk, right? So he, after 3 months, he ponied up as a man should pony up. He was the older man, she was the younger woman. She was gorgeous, and she was beautiful. He was fucking hot, and still was when I met him when he was older, right? Because they were timeless souls, because that's what timeless souls does, because love doesn't age you. Bad life ages you, right?
Yes, exactly.
So she, after 90 days, right? She says, God, she goes, I just love you so much. He goes, yeah, and I love you too, and that's why I'm going to let you go. So she says, whoa. He says, I love you more than anybody I've ever met in my entire life. I've never met anybody like you. I can spend the rest of my life with you. I've never felt that way, didn't even feel that way about my wife, who I share my kids with. But I can't offer you one thing. He says, I'm not having another kid. He says, I've done it. He says, you can help me raise these teenage fucking boys, and we can do it the right way, you know, because they could use your female influence, but I can't do this again. I'm at a point in my life where life is too easy right now, and I don't want to go back there. So she starts crying, right? And he says, you've got to go. And she says, okay. So for months, they would talk a little bit, and they would long for one another. And finally, when she told me the story, it was great. Like, I mean, literally tears running through her eyes. She goes, I woke up one morning and I realized that whatever story I was creating in my brain was how life should be or could be. But in my 30 plus years on this planet Earth, I never met a man like him. And I would never meet another man like him again. So she went to him and said, listen, she goes, I don't know how I'm going to do this. She goes, but I'm going to do this. And I'm not going to give birth, and I'm going to be the best stepmom in the entire world. And it was one of the greatest heartfelt stories, because I looked at her, and they were older when I met them. I said, did you have any regrets? She goes, no. She goes, this man is irreplaceable. And God gave me this man to be loved like this, to be adored like this, to be felt like this, to be seen like this. And I said, what about the kid thing? She goes, that was hard. She goes, because I always thought there was a calling for me. But once I switched it and fucking started loving his sons, it was a whole different experience. Now they have grandchildren. So she got to relive that. So now the grandchildren, so the sons had kids, and then all of a sudden she got to live that through. So that was, to me, and I've always said that to women, and I know it's coming from a man's perspective, and I never want to take away the womb with the vacancy and the calling and everything else, but sometimes the universe gives you something that isn't exactly what you're supposed to have, and you need to decide, or you need to think, can you do a 360-degree turn? Because I can feel the children in you, but it doesn't mean they came from you.
Exactly.
That's like a perspective, a little.
It's interesting
kind
too,
of switch.
My ex that I was with for 7 years had 2 children, and I was like, I'm never doing this again. I literally put it on my list. He has to, you know, want children and stuff, but it has to be original for both of us, because it was such an awful experience. But I cannot also, I mean, what if I do meet the perfect person and they already have a kid? I cannot, you know, black out. Or what if they have blonde hair instead of dark hair? I cannot, you know, X that out completely in my thinking, because then I'm just closing myself off to the possibility. You know, and that's one of the things as I hit 30 and stuff. I'm narrowing my wants and my likes and dislikes for how I want to be treated and what I'll put up with and tolerate. But at the same time, when it comes to my love life, I don't want to be as closed off. But something like, I've never dated a hot person, like, that is not okay.
No, you're hot. Like, fucking A, what are you doing, girl? Jesus.
I don't know. My girlfriends were like, I don't understand what's wrong with you. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just trying, you know, I don't know. And I have this friend of mine, and he's like a gay brother to me, and he was like, well, you know, it's because you need to be the hotter person. And then I was like, but I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. I haven't met someone, that dude who I went out with, the Libra, who was so fucking gorgeous. I could just sit and stare at him. He's so beautiful. But I was just like, there's nothing else there. There's nothing. So what are you going to build? You cannot build a life on fucking bullshit.
No.
You know, you can't. Just because he's hot, he's going to not look like that in about 20 years. And he's so serious, and he can't, you know, laugh about stuff. I'm like, that doesn't work. You know? So what are you going to build? And I want to build a life. I'd rather build a life with someone that's going to make me super happy and stuff. And we're just going to have the most amazing time filled with lots of friends and traveling and money and wonderful food and just life and sex and everything, rather than be like, well, I have to have babies now. So I went through that fear too, and I let that pass through me too. And so now, you know, I can feel them. I always envisioned 2 kids, and I still think it's such a huge possibility, but I will not force that, because I just think, oh, I have to have it. Like, I just won't.
That's huge. Can I bring you back tomorrow one more time?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I want to continue this, and I want them to know that, because we are making a list, and this is important, because as the year comes to an end, I think the world needs to put the intent to fall in love again.
Yeah.
Because the world has gotten a lot harder nowadays. I mean, we have a madman in the office. We have lots of people who are narcissists running around posting on Instagram and not giving a fuck about anybody else. People are rewarded for having no talent in today's society. And
huge
it's
thing.
kind of like really ridiculous. There's no talent out there, and people make millions and millions and millions of dollars. So let's talk a little bit about that, because that was a
Right.
really good confession that you made. Because I say that to women a lot,
Yeah.
you know, because I meet a lot of women, and I'll look at them and say, what if? Because, and the only reason why I can say that, and I think the only reason why I have right to say that,
Mhm.
because I never thought I was going to have one, and I had one, and had my daughter.
Mhm.
And to me, it's like really important for me to find somebody who wants to partake. Nobody's met my daughter.
That's
You know, 5.5 years
good. I
of being
think that's
separated,
so important.
nobody's met my daughter, because I want the person who meets I want my daughter, because I had a vision when I was in Maui, when I split from my ex back in April of 2012. I had a vision walking the beach in Maui that it was me, my daughter, and my love, my real love, right? And you know what's fucking funny? My daughter's that age now with the vision. Yeah,
It's coming to
my
you.
daughter,
It's
coming. Oh yeah,
coming.
my daughter's that
Oh,
age of that
it's
vision.
amazing.
It's
See, I can feel that too. I feel that vision, and it's so strong, and I feel like it's getting closer, you know. But I think for women too, that's one advice that I do give to women. It's like, you know, even though that's that vision that you hold on to, be open, because do not force, do not force a bullshit decision that's not meant for you.
okay. So let's bring you back to more. How do they reach you?
Okay. AlexandraTheArtist.com is my website, or you can find me on social media at Queen Midas, Maitis. That's Instagram, Twitter, and you can get my book, The Art of Being a Woman, on iTunes, Amazon, or Barnes & Noble.
Beautiful, and we'll see you tomorrow one last time.
Yes.